You're watching Gearz.
It's common knowledge that a lot of mechanical advancements came through our involvement in World War II. And one of the most significant was the development of the HEMI engine. But it wasn't a war hero like you might think, as the first HEMI engine was a huge inverted V16 that was stuffed into an experimental P-47 aircraft. The plane flew well.
When you're flying the Thunderbolt, you've got an airplane strapped to your pants that's designed to chase the enemy out of the sky.
But with jet engines already hitting the scene, Chrysler was forced to shelve the HEMI head technology as a good idea just at the wrong time. However, the right time came in the 1950s when competing car companies like Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Ford, and Chevy started getting into racing. Both versions of the HEMI became so dominant on the racetracks in the 50s and 60s that they forged a legend that continues to this day. But just having a HEMI engine in your car didn't necessarily make it fast, as a lot of people found out back in the day. Now, the trick to a HEMI was knowing how to make it run and knowing how to get the full potential out of that engine. And some people do that better than others. People like Ray Barton. Ray Barton Racing Engines is located in the small town of Robezonia, Pennsylvania. But there's nothing small about what goes on inside the walls of the building, as massive horsepower screams out across the neighborhood at all hours of the day. The source of all that racket are some of the most powerful and competitive street and racing HEMIs being built today.
With this head, your capabilities are just about endless. I mean, you can make a lot of horsepower with something like this, depending on how much work you put into it.
Of course, the only way to stay on top of the racing game is to continue to develop new products and techniques, and Ray has been doing that for a long time.
I was involved in developing the latest block with Bill Mitchell, which is now the Mopar block. I was involved with Chrysler and Edelbrock in bringing out the latest cylinder head for the HEMI, plus all my own products, which definitely make it a better engine. This is for a 4150. It's lower, so it'll fit under a stock hood. Mopar Performance actually put this manifold on all of their 528 crate motors. It's more than capable of feeding a 1,000 horsepower motor right out of the box. Well, back in the 80s when we were racing the HEMI cars, you had to use a cross ram. I decided to spend the money and make a whole new cross ram, get tooling made for what we were currently using, and that's what we sell today.
Carburetors have their cool thing, but EFI is definitely the way of the future. You could tune every cylinder properly, and I mean, there's an endless amount of features that you can apply to a high-performance motor, and we like to take advantage of that.
And all that racing experience means that they have developed parts over the years that you can use on your engine. Take a look. They've got intake manifolds. They have valve covers. They have valve train components. They've got pretty much anything that you can imagine for a HEMI. But if you don't want to build it yourself, they'll build the engine for you. For example, this is a 528 we had them put together for us. Starting with the Mopar Performance block and heads, both were machined and tweaked to Barton specs. JE pistons and a Barton cam were installed in the bottom end, and the patented Barton individual shaft rocker arm system was installed on the heads.
Now, we've run it over 10,000 RPM on the Spintron and in cars, and it's just a real kick-ass deal. We're starting to have a lot of valve train issues with the racing part of it, and there really wasn't any other stuff to buy, so I just got it in my mind that I needed to come up with something from at least this century.
Final result? 750 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds on pump gas. But Ray Barton isn't just about HEMIs. They'll build you virtually any engine as long as you want it to go fast and hold together.
We do some Chevrolet competition motors and some Ford stuff, but not any kind of street stuff. But people that really want to spend some money and learn, everybody learn from it, we enjoy doing that stuff.
And they don't just do engines either. They also build complete cars. Whether you want a full-on race car, a hot street machine, or an original restoration. They've got the guys and the know-how to do it right.
If you come to us, we don't necessarily offer just turnkey crate motors because everything's custom here, you know. But you know, we'll build whatever you want. We carry that through, and we bring the cars to the track with the customers, and we make sure they have a time slip in their hand because that's what they're paying for. They're not paying for a horsepower number; they're paying for an ET slip.
Hey, welcome back to Gearz. You know, a few weeks ago, we rolled the V8 Interceptor back into the shop to not only show off the fantastic paint job that the Hot Rod Institute did, but also to start putting it back together. Now, at this point, I've got bumpers away at chrome, I've got other parts away at powder coating, so it's the perfect time to focus on the interior. And we get a lot of questions about interior projects. So, we're going to show you a bunch of things that you can do in here to help make your project a success, starting with tips on doors and floors.
Now, quick tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
Obviously, the first thing that you want to do when you're putting a car back together is get some protection down on the floor before you put your sound deadening in. And there's a lot of products out there like this chassis saver paint that you can paint right over rust, right over bare metal, and it'll seal everything up and keep rust from happening. But one area that most professional restorers, amateur restorers, even the factory overlook are inside the doors. Take a look inside that door. That is bare steel in there. That is a breeding ground for rust. So while you have everything apart, take your rust inhibited paint, put a nice coating inside on the bottom of the door, and in a couple years you will be so glad you did. If you'd like to learn more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website. Okay, with our floors taken care of, we are ready to lay in this carpet that we got from West Coast Classic Cougars. Now, as you probably know, automotive carpet is pretty much form-fitted to your floor pans. So, putting something like this in is a matter of dropping it in place, trimming your edges, and cutting your access holes. However, if you'll notice, these are formed with heat in a press, so they may not be 100% accurate. But if you'll take a heat gun, warm up this plastic when you're doing your final fit, you'll be able to contour and fit that right to your floor pans. Now, in the past, when you were restoring a muscle car interior, you basically had two choices. You could take it back original, like this, or you could do something full-on custom. The problem is there was no in-between, and a lot of guys today want to reuse their original seats and customize them. Fortunately, there's a way to do that. Come on. TMI is a company that specializes in custom do-it-yourself interiors for classic Ford, Chevy, and Volkswagen vehicles. Now, starting with the idea that your original seats were good, they just needed to be upgraded, TMI developed special seat cushions to fit right on your original frames. Now look at this. They've got more pronounced side bolsters on the bottom and the top, just like a modern performance seat. Then, of course, they developed upholstery to go over those foams, and they'll do them in an original pattern, or they'll do a full-on custom stitch for you. Now, when you put this onto your original seat, this is what you end up with. A full-on custom seat bolts right in place because it's your original seat, and you've got all kinds of options here. You can do low back, you can do headrest, you can do custom upholstery, whatever color you want. All you got to do is tell them and they'll stitch them up for you so you can get the custom look that you're after. TMI also supplied matching upholstery for the rear seat, the door panels, and the rear side panels, so the look of the front seats flows all the way through the interior. And once again, since these are your original panels, it's just a matter of fitting them in place on the car. All right, another issue can be the headliner, because a lot of restorers don't want to use an original style headliner. Fortunately, you got an option. TMI has a one-piece fiberglass headliner for a lot of vehicles. It screws right in place of the original headliner, and then it's just covered with whatever upholstery you want. They also have A-pillars and B-pillars to finish off the installation. Now, obviously, for the V8 Interceptor, we're sticking with the original style headliner. But now, at least you know you got options. Hey, we're back and laying out the interior of the V8 Interceptor. Now, as you can see, the rear seat and panels are in place. Now I'm just finishing up the door panels and the console. Now this console is a really slick piece from TMI. It's a fiberglass console that's designed to fit right into a classic muscle car. As you can see, it goes under the dash, got your shifter spot, a couple of cup holders, an armrest, and even a place to keep your speeding tickets, which on this car is going to fill up pretty quick. Now, the door panel is the last major panel that we have to finish up. Now, as you can see, I'm reusing the original style armrests and interior lights because those are cool. But instead of using the original style window cranks and door handles, we got these really cool billet handles from Clayton Machine Works. Now, these are designed to fit right in place of and operate just like the original handles, but with a much more contemporary look that really fits what we're doing to the car. Now, I know some of you guys are looking at these manual windows and going, man, how hard would it be to put power windows in a project like this? Well, it's actually pretty simple, as long as you have a kit from New Relics, because they specialize in bolt-in power window systems for classic cars and trucks. Take a look at this. These are your main window units. These are your quarter window units. And notice that the electric motors are already attached. All the steel is heavy gauge, just like the originals. You got hardened bearings and teeth, so these are going to last a long time. Then you've got a wiring harness that goes with it, and all the switches that you're going to need. Notice these switches are round. They'll go right in place of the hole that's in your door panel, so you don't even have to mess with your door panel. The best part is the New Relic stuff is American made. They have these for over 300 models of cars and trucks, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. So if you want to put power windows in your vehicle, these are the guys to talk to, and you have another option. You know, if you watch Gearz a lot, you know that we usually do a custom guitar to go with the big projects, and the V8 Interceptor is no exception. But this time, instead of starting with something new and turning it into something really cool, we decided it would be more fitting to start with something that needed to be restored, like the car. And a few years ago, Nashville was hit with a huge flood that destroyed entire neighborhoods. The guitar we started with was pulled from the water and written off as ruined. It started out as a very expensive Paul Reed Smith custom, but water damage had ruined the finish, warped the neck, and destroyed all the hardware and electronics. So we hooked up with master craftsman Jonathan McClanahan at McClanahan Exotic Woodworking, and he started to bring the old beast back to life.
I build instruments from just raw billets of wood, whether it be electric guitars from mahogany to curly maple to mandolins, guitars. Get the raw billet of wood and just start carving away. It doesn't matter what kind of repair needs to be done, what's wrong with the guitar, how it's been busted out necks, rims, cracks, anything, I can fix it.
A guitar like this is not a lost cause.
Oh, absolutely not. That's one thing I love, and that's one thing I specialize in, is bringing them back.
Due to water damage, the waist was cut in 1/4 inch on all sides. The top was recurved and arched. The back scallop was extended and widened, and 1/4 inch was shaved off of the neck. For a finish, Jonathan threw on an incredible 3-tone sunburst and added acorn nuts for knobs and a 33 Ford grill emblem to tie it into the car. Paul Reed Smith supplied all new hardware and pickups, so the thing sounds like a Paul Reed Smith should. Which means it'll handle everything from classic jazz, blues, country, or rock. Now, there's no doubt that the guitar is cool, and we're going to tie it in with the car with what we're going to do on the dash. Now, everybody knows that having a wood grain dash is pretty cool, and a lot of these older cars like this, especially the Cougar, came with a fake wood grain dash. But we are not into fake wood. So, as cool as that is, we're going to go a different route. So, I took an old dash here, and I made a template out of 1/4-inch aluminum, cut to fit the classic gauges I'm going to use on all the lights. And then I took another panel, cut it to fit other gauges and my air conditioning vents. Now, I could have polished all this out and it would have looked good, but it's not wood. So we sent this off to Jonathan.
To look at a dash like this, I mean, this isn't cardboard, it isn't particle board, it isn't plywood. This is curly maple, and it's sugar maple. And I mean, to be able to put a piece of curly maple out there and sand it down and get it to the way that I do, that whenever you move it, you just move it, and you can watch the wood do what I call flashing.
And what we got back was a custom wooden dash insert. But not only that, he also redid the wood in the Lucara steering wheel so that it all matches. That's right. The wood grain and the sunburst in the dash and the steering wheel matches the guitar perfectly. That's why it's called McClanahan Exotic Woodworking. The best part is, you send him a template, tell him what you want, he'll build it for you. And once all the parts are set in place, you get a pretty good idea of what this interior is going to look like. Wow.
And now, Parts Bin.
You know, there's two things that every garage needs: space and a way to utilize that space so you can store your junk. Well, Spiderweb Modular Storage Solutions has got a way to help you do that. Check it out. They specialize in aluminum shelving in various different sizes and configurations, so you can set it up and assemble it in all kinds of different ways, making this perfect for a garage or a shop or a trailer or a paint booth or whatever. The individual shelves are fully adjustable, so you can make room for big bottles or short little things. The all-metal construction is tough, so you can beat it around and you know it's going to last. And they're available in a bunch of different colors if you don't like the aluminum look. If you are serious about utilizing the space in your garage, Spiderweb Storage can help you do that. You know, every garage needs a parts washer. It's the only way to clean up old nasty parts so you can reuse them. But what if you're going to be out working on something in a field or a junkyard or a racetrack? Having a portable parts washer would be pretty nice. Well, that's where the Benchtop Pro parts washer comes in. This is a small, self-contained parts washer that you just carry in, open up, plug it in, and turn it on. It has a built-in recirculating pump and a flow-through brush, so it'll clean parts as good as the big boys. There are just some tools that make sense. A portable benchtop parts cleaner is one of them, and the Chem-Free Corporation is where you got to go to get that.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Air Raid, American-made quality and performance since 1992.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Denny Rios from Livingston, Texas, and his project is a 1948 Diamond T pickup. Now, if you've never seen a 1948 Diamond T, here's what it looks like before Denny started working on it. He said his wife brought it home for him 10 years ago. It was a total rust bucket, but he didn't care. He started working on it, completely tore it apart. First thing he did was redo the frame and suspension. Then he put in a hot 454 engine. He completely restored the body with new metal. And he says his wife helped him with the interior, which was an awesome deal. And then he completely rebuilt the bed. Now, he said he did this on a very small budget, practically no budget, so it took him 10 years. But says now his wife loves it. Now, Denny has a PS listed here. He says, don't tell my wife, but I just bought a Franklin quick change rear end to put in the truck. All right, Denny, we won't tell her, we promise. All right, to make peace with you, because we just got you in trouble, we're going to give you a complete air raid system to go with whatever vehicle that you want. All you got to do is get in touch with them, tell them what you want, and they'll send you a complete unit. Also, we're going to give you a year subscription of Hot Rod Magazine. Hopefully you can get that truck featured in this book. Also, we're going to give you a Gearz fender cover and a project build book so you can keep track of all the modifications you've done to that truck. Now, the rest of you guys, if you want to get your project featured on the show, you got to send it in to What Are You Working On? We'll do our best to get it on the air. Also, don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Facebook. We got a lot of great stuff going there too. All right, I'm going to jump back on the Cougar. Denny is going to try to make peace with his wife. You need to get out there and work on something. We'll see you next time.